Are longtime supporters of the trans movement and things like that starting to change their tune? Are far left people, leftist people, starting to change their tune? Even left-wing people on the transgender issue? There's a fascinating clip that we're about to watch from Morning Joe, MSNBC, and with some commentary from Piers Morgan and Riley Gaines. You've got to see this. Now, this interview came off of the back of the Trump win on this past Tuesday on Election Day. And so a lot of people have been theorizing in the political world, why did Trump win? What exactly, they're trying to put their finger on what exactly happened, because it was a big win. Everyone, all the pollsters were saying it was going to be very close. It was a massive win. So now everyone's starting to question, particularly people on the left, why? What are the issues? What were we so wrong about that America seemed to recoil away from us more than ever before? And so in this, you're going to see the changing of the rhetoric, the changing of the language being used by Joe Scarborough from MSNBC, again, with some commentary from Piers Morgan and Riley Gaines, who has been someone who has talked a lot about this issue with trans rights.
I don't feel brave. I don't feel like I've said anything overly profound or wise. I mean, I've literally just said that men and women are different. That's it. But it speaks to the moral decay and the decline of our great nation. And so to your point, yeah, to have an entire political party that claims to be of and for women, really prides themselves on it, yet, I mean, can't even define what a woman is, has allowed 16,000 known immigrants entering into this country illegally that are rapists. I mean, that's just not pro-woman. And of course, the issue of allowing men into women's sports. They say this is progress. They, do it under the guise of being progressive or even feminism, weirdly enough. But to be very clear, this is not progressive. This is deeply regressive. It's utterly misogynistic. And we've seen this turnaround. We saw just this morning, actually.
Oh, real quick. This is a point that an important point to make. I feel sometimes like on this issue or on the abortion issue sometimes, and I think you do too, a lot of you who watch the channel, I feel sometimes like I'm being absolutely gaslit. Like I'm being made to be made to feel like I'm crazy sometimes by the political machine or just by the rhetoric that is used by people on the left. The idea that it would be a pretty common thing to say that men can be women and women can be men just blows my mind. It absolutely blows me away just to think about how that is even something that has been debated. It is so simple. It is so clear. And to think about how we even debate that basic rudimentary fact is absolutely mind-blowing. I just did a video on how Bill Maher says it talks about intelligent people having faith and what a contradiction that seems to be. Again, it is unbelievable how we say, well, we're so intelligent in the modern era, but then you ask like the most intelligent people who support this leftist stuff, and they'll say, well, what is a woman? I don't really know. Matt Walsh did a whole documentary on this, and no one could answer what a woman actually is. Because they wouldn't give a biological answer, because then it would rule out the trans people.
On MSNBC, Morning Joe, he came out and said, look, I think the Democrats should have been smarter about this. 85% of American voters agree that it's wrong to put men in women's sports. Yeah. So it's almost like they lose and suddenly common sense is back.
Well, you know what? Sometimes it takes a thumping defeat to realize you've got to wake up and smell the coffee. Let's take a look at that clip you talked about on MSNBC.
Democrats should be smarter on the women's athletics thing. 85% of Americans oppose men transitioning after puberty and competing against women. And I'm not just saying this the day after the election.
Notice how he's framing it. I've
been saying this for years. This is not a hard call. And as the Republican governor of Utah said, let's figure out a way to do this. But one way we don't do this is by allowing men who transition after puberty competing against young girls who have been working their entire lives to be as good as they can be, and then they get destroyed in the pool, on the track, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
He sounds like a Christian. He sounds like me talking. He sounds like a Republican talking. He sounds like a right-winger, like those right-wingers who debate this stuff politically. That's what he sounds like. You see how he's framing it? He's framing it as men who transition. And again, the people who really believe in this stuff wouldn't say men who transition as much as they would say that they were always women. And they just transitioned into what they really are. What they feel is what they are. And so for him to say multiple times, this is not a hard issue, and these are men who are making a transition after puberty as men to become in the same space as women, to be placed in the same space as women, is unbelievably wrong. Again, that is mind-blowing. I feel like that's what everyone should have been saying all along. And he tried to say, I've been saying that for years. Nonsense, buddy. You have not been saying that for years. Their side has not said that stuff for years, for a long time. They've been made, and by their own pressures as well in their corporate structure, to use the language of the people who are the strongest supporters, the activists for all this stuff. But now here he is, now because it's now because it's so clear that this is so unpopular for their side, now they're going to go, you know what, we'll just start talking about it the way the people who have been on the other side of this issue talk.
I was just going to say, I think this is pretty remarkable, not even in necessarily the content of what he's saying, but how he is saying it. Look, he called this very clearly what people like you and I know what this is. It's men who have transitioned to women. I mean, we wouldn't have seen this a year ago. They would have continued with the verbiage of trans woman, or even calling these people women, these men women, but to come outright and say men who have transitioned. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big step in the right direction.
100%. For him to even use that language, someone using that language, like in the very beginning when this stuff was really, really, really hotly contested, it would have, people lost their jobs talking about it that way. People lost like high profile jobs talking about it that way. People had to use specific language to the point where they were terrified of talking about it. My theory is they, like me, always have known that's not really real. That's not really real. It is something that is what someone believes in their mind, but it's not real. It's not a real thing that is actually like scientific or biological in its nature. And now they can talk about it in terms of what it really is, which is it is not a real thing. I don't think that now they're lying and they're deep believers that men can transform magically into women because of some physical things that are done to them, and women can physically transform into men because of stuff that is done to them. No. I don't think that they think that at all. I don't think many of them ever thought that. I think that there's an amount of them that will just say whatever is popular, but then the real number of them, the vast majority of them, they knew that was not real. They were just trying to be nice. They were just trying to be polite. And that's the way they felt like niceness and politeness had to be borne out. But they knew that wasn't real. And so now they can just talk about it the way they want to talk about it. This is a good point. I have to give a shout out to Jack Wilkie on this. This is one of the reasons why elections matter. So shout out to Jack Wilkie, who's been harping on this stuff, Jack, for a while. Jack, he's been talking about it for a while, and I'm glad that he has. And he's been a help to me in this issue. Because the fact is, if the Democrats, and again, this isn't a political show, this is not a political podcast, but this is just a fact in this situation. This is an intersection, just like when I preached about this at the Seagoville Church of Christ, where I'm the preacher. Come visit us. This intersection between morality and politics, biblical values and politics. The fact is, if Democrats would have had a big win on Election Day, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I don't know what I'd be doing a video about. We wouldn't be talking about this. They would say, you see? America is in favor of this stuff. America wants this stuff. America likes this stuff, so therefore we need more of it. And this is a big reason why Christians should vote for what are their Christian values to the best of their abilities and within the realm of their conscience. Very important for Christianity to be played out, I would argue, in the political arena in a healthy, spiritual, godly way that reflects Christ and magnifies him above everything else. But that is just the reality. That's why voting and abstinence from voting, I think, can be damaging. That's why voting matters. Voting does something. You see, this resounding victory is turning the tide on some issue like this, on an issue like this that matters a lot, and not just this one. The same conversations are happening about abortion and other things as well. This is a very important moment right now to look at and to analyze, but let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, consider supporting on Patreon. The link is in the description below if you want to support the channel. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, again, like the video, leave a comment. That helps YouTube to know that you want to see more of this stuff. God bless you. I love you. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.